What's up, everybody? Renfail here, back again with some more Rogue Trader, and with launch just around the corner, it's time to start doing the normal prep guides that I do for every CRPG we play. And one of the first ones we do, usually in the first block of 5, is which class should I play in the given game? And today we're obviously talking about Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader. Now, they aren't called classes in this game, which took me a little while to get used to. They call them doctrines, but it's the same principle. These are the base classes of the game that you're going to be getting into as you play, and then from here you'll be able to expand into other more advanced types of classes. So, without further ado, we're not going to be getting into the rank 2 stuff or beyond today. We're only going to be talking about rank 1, because these are the base doctrines that you're going to be going through if you're playing the game for the very first time. So essentially 4 classes. If you want to think of them as archetypes, that might be a little bit of a better explanation, because from here things trickle down. So all of these, as an example, in the second tier require at least one of these to go down. So as an example, just to not to dive too deep into the assassin, and if we look at the assassin, it does require you to be a fighter or an adept. So really what we're focused on right now is what class do you want to play out of the gate as a new player in Rogue Trader. And you're going to be coming down to the fighter, the leader, the adept, or the marksman. Now, some of these are similar to things you might have seen in other CRPGs or tabletop games, but some of them are completely different. I came into Rogue Trader completely new to Warhammer 40k lore and terminology, and I've had to learn a lot. But the beta has been really useful for that, so Owlcat has done a very good job of breaking things down and explaining them to even newbies like me. So without further ado, we're going to get into this today and discuss which class you should play based on what I've played through in beta, sort of what I think each one of these boils down to. If you like the guide and this is your first time here, do what you're supposed to do. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. We do play a lot of different games, so check out the playlists. Daily streams happen at 5:30 a.m. Central and 8 p.m. Central. Multi-streaming on Twitch and YouTube as of this recording, which is really fun. Doing lots of different things, lots of different games. Check out the Discord. Let's dive into the first of these classes. Alright, right off the bat, we can look at the fighter. These are combatants of exceptional melee prowess, capable of dealing high damage in close quarters combat and withstanding the attention of their enemies, as well as drawing their attention away from less defended allies. Focal points are melee, movement and dodge, armor and parry, taunt, receiving attacks. Keystone abilities are charge, and their ultimate abilities are daring breach and heroic act, and daring breach, desperate measure. By the way, Daring Breach is really freaking awesome in combat. Their characteristics are weapon skill, strength, toughness, agility, and their skills are carouse, athletics, coercion, demolition, and medica. Now, one of the first things to understand about fighters is, even though it does say here that they are melee characters, because of the way this game is set up, you could choose to spec your fighter as a ranged fighter if you wanted to, because of the selections you get to make when you're leveling up. But the other option is to just go sword and pistol as an example, because you can use both at the same time and then have your secondary weapon set for something completely different. So there are a lot of different ways to play the fighter, but think of these as, like, they're going to have the most hit points. They can wear the best armor, in terms of being up front and at the forefront of all the combat. But, like, if you've gone through the game before, you can point this out, but if you haven't played, I'll explain it. Heinrichs, as an example, when you get Heinrichs, he is a fighter, but he also has spec'd into Psyker. So he has psychic abilities to back up what he's got as a fighter, and he is an incredibly powerful character. So again, there's a lot of different ways you can play, not just the fighter, but any of the classes in this game, because of the way you can spec them. So let's go ahead and dive into what the fighter looks like on the back end, inside of the wheel here of looking at how they level up. So like all of the classes or doctrines in the game, there are 15 levels that you're going to be going through. So the first 15 levels of gameplay are going to be you focusing on your primary class, your primary archetype, and then you will further specialize down the road. So because you get a charge as your keystone ability, that's what you start off with. And from here, at level 2, you're going to be getting a choice between these abilities here. So you can look down the list. The ones that have thumbs up are the things that it's suggesting that you should take. So as an example, Endure. All incoming damage is reduced by 2 until your next turn, and you get a toughness bonus. So it's a nice way to say, hey, I know I'm going to be getting attacked a lot this round. I need to hunker down and endure for the next few attacks. Sworn Enemy makes a specific target your priority target, and you gain a toughness bonus to their armor and strength bonus to damage on melee attacks against that character. And again, melee attacks here. Also, Reckless Strike means that your next melee attack gains a strength bonus to armor penetration and a strength bonus to damage, as well as ignoring some of the target's parry bonuses. But however, there's a con to this, which means every enemy who survives the attack enhanced by this ability then attacks you back, including creatures with ranged weapons. Not cool, man. And then, of course, you would choose your available skill in this case. You could go whichever you want. I find that Carouse is going to be pretty good because it's the ability to resist negative effects and substances, but you get thumbs up to just, do whatever you want here. And then you'll go around the wheel as you level up. So again, think about the fighter as, generally speaking, they are meant to be melee characters, but if you look at like here and available abilities, because they're meant to be melee, on some of the leveling up options, you're going to be limited to the things you can take. Whereas other ones, if I can find one of these down here, like when you're choosing talents, it's going to give you the thumbs up talents, but there's a whole lot of stuff you could choose from if you wanted to. You could spec your guy into types of ranged if you wanted to, but their primary focus is going to be on being melee characters who get up in the thick of it, because the way this game works is melee, if you're in direct proximity to a ranged opponent with a melee weapon, they can't do anything. Like, they can only use melee. So part of being a melee character, if you choose to go that route, is to be up in the thick of it and just blocking all of their attacks by being up in their face constantly. Next up is the leader, and the leader, if I could explain this best, as based on the gameplay that I've seen so far, is essentially you don't necessarily do a lot of direct combat yourself. It's mostly about, and the description says it, but it's explained so much better when you actually play a leader in gameplay. It says they use their willpower and fellowship to improve combat capabilities of their allies, turning them into even greater combatants. So think about the leader as like the ultimate buff bot, where your only role in combat is to buff your friends and make them really cool and powerful, and to directly give them extra attacks. So you can have like one ability where you can tell one of your guys, hey, I want you to have an extra attack this round. So he'll get an extra attack out of his normal, turn. But then you can also give them full action points and movement points and everything, and they can get a full turn in the middle of combat as an extra when it's your turn. So it's not you directly doing any damage, it's you deciding situationally. It's kind of like a general, right? Okay, I need my melee character I need my fighter to get up over there and like do an AoE attack on those 3 guys because they're about to do something really bad. So you take over your melee character, your fighter, for your round. You take over that character and you direct them over there. They do the AoE damage, and then once they're done, you're back to you. Then you finish. Their turn might be the next turn, and then they can have their turn. But just when it's your turn, you can directly control other people to do things for you. As well as all the buffing and everything else you can do. So it's pretty intense. So everything you have is about manipulating the other people in your party, as opposed to you doing specific things. So you're not going to be like shooting lightning bolts or firing, you do have attacks if you want to do like a melee attack or something, or a ranged attack, but your primary abilities are all about manipulating the battlefield and buffing your allies and getting them to do things. So it's been a very interesting, one of the characters that you get really fairly early on in the game during chapter 1 is a leader, and every time I play through with her in my party, it feels whenever I get to her turn, I feel like the best part of the leader class is to leverage the strengths of the other 5 party members to the best of their potential. So it's one of the other things I love about this game is that it has the 6-person party system, so you have a ton of different people with you. And so depending, you've probably specialized everybody in your party in a different direction. And so when it comes time for the leader to take their turn, you're getting to pick the cream of the crop and decide this is what I want to do with my turn. So it's very situationally and strategically based as a character. The Adept you could think of as like the mage of Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader. Like, they're casters, right? But they can do different things depending on whether or not they're focused on the divination side and doing like damage from a distance using the powers of their psychic, you know? Or are you going to be more of the biomancy driven, where you're doing things to the physical side of the world? So the diviners are sort of more of the mental, and then biomancy is more of like you can buff your party members and give them strength for their next turn. Or you can, you know, target a group of enemies and attempt to inflict a weakness upon them or force them to their knees. There's lots of different things you could do with biomancy. And then on the divination side of things, you know, you're going to be doing a lot of the studying of the battlefield and stripping away and adding weaknesses and things and mental, you know, focusing on the mental side of things and like psychic shrieks and things of that nature. So when you think about it that way, you can have a lot of different adepts in your party and they all play completely differently, which is a lot of fun. I think I did a video guide, like a beginner's guide to the adepts, where I showcase some of that in action, because a lot of the characters that you come across in the game who can join your party are adepts. And I created an adept for one of my playthroughs, and I went through and immediately had 2 other adepts in the party, and I was like, oh, this is going to be really fun. But because we all play in such a completely different manner, it was like I had one who uses a sniper rifle and a little bit of biomancy, and I got another one who uses an AoE melee weapon and these other abilities. And then I've got my ranged character who's more about the mental stuff and lightning blasts and things of that nature and exposing weaknesses. It's a lot of fun. And the Adept at its core gets this ability called Study Enemies, which we're doing a guide on soon, so make sure you stay tuned for that. But the way Clue works as a general rule is when you choose to study your enemies, it takes the enemies within a radius and it applies randomly stacks of clue marks to those characters. Now, clue can add insight to your character, which allows you to have increased damage against those studied enemies. But there's also a lot more going on beyond just you doing additional damage to them, because a lot of your abilities, like expose weakness, you can take an enemy that has been studied and has a clue on them, and you can remove a clue and apply an effect to the mob. So like, I'm going to expose you this turn. Let's see if I can find expose weakness here real quick. Here it is. As an example, I'm going to take a stack of clue off of you to decrease your dodge, parry, and armor for the next round. So you do that, and then all of your characters, you know, pile on essentially the next round. So it's a cool class that can do damage, but also strip buffs and give your party members bonuses and really take away from the enemies as well. And how you spec your adept can widely change the way that your adept plays, which is, it's totally relevant to have 2 or 3 adepts in your party because they're all going to play completely differently. Same goes for fighters. I mean, any of these actually. The only one I would say that you don't need more than one of is the leader. You don't need more than one leader because you want your other 5 to be made up of, you know, fighter, marksman, and adept. So the adept is a lot of fun. It's also very complex. I would say that if you like the strategic side of gameplay, you're going to probably enjoy the leader and the adept more than anything else. But for me, one of the things I love to do the most is, of course, the marksman. So quick commercial break, everyone, to celebrate and give thanks to all of these amazing people who keep me on the air full time. Really appreciate the support. All you got to do is join as a member. You get access to private videos. You can also do super thanks on any upload or super chats and stickers on any live stream or premiere you see. And beyond that, don't forget we're multi-streaming over on Twitch now, so you can support over there as well. Thanks so much to everybody. Let's get back to the video at hand. This is a simple class to play. It is run and gun, point and shoot. That's all you need to know. Now, of course, it's way more complex than that. So there are different types of weapons that you can have and different types of things you can do. And the difference between the way I played my Marksman in my first playthrough and having Argenta in my party and the way that her character is spec'd, and then further differentiating those two, it's like the Adepts. You can have two completely different Marksmans. You can have one who's focused on, shotguns and being up close and personal, and you can have another one who's focused on the sniper rifles and way back in the back. It's kind of up to you. Your base keystone ability is known as Shot on the Run, which allows you to run around the battlefield. And so basically every turn you get movement, and then you get your action, and then you're done. Shot on the Run gives you an additional movement that's less than what the original one was, and you then get an additional attack. So it's right out of the gate. The Marksman gets 2 attacks per turn, which is really, really cool. So if you look at Shot on the Run, Marksman games +2 movement points. Their next attack costs 1 action point less, but suffers a -10 BS penalty. So there's obviously cons to it, but it's your second attack. It's kind of like in D&D or Pathfinder, where your offhand attack has a lesser chance to hit and does lesser damage because it's not as strong as your primary. But going from here, the thing I love about the Marksman is military excellence. When you get it, it gives you a number of free attacks equal to the weapon's rate of fire, with the weapon's cheapest attack ability. So you're not going to get to do any of this special cool stuff with your weapon, but you do get to take the basic shot and do it multiple times. There's a lot of abilities within the Marksman that if you would attack enemies, like if you attack 3 different enemies, you then get this special thing that happens. So this is a perfect time to get those, because you're going to get, depending on the rate of fire with your weapon, you'll get multiple attacks. If you have 4 or 5, you can target all these different characters and get the other bonuses that are coming from some of your other abilities. So the focus here is on ranged, of course. Dodge is going to be important for your character. Then there's, depending on, do you want to do burst fire, area effects, or do you want to focus on single target damage? And that's going to be based upon the weapons that you choose to equip. So certain weapons like sniper rifles are only going to be good for single target damage, and other weapons do burst effects and area effects, and like the flamethrowers, right in front of you. And there's all sorts of different ways that you can play your Marksman. I like to stick to either a sniper rifle or like the machine guns, the shotguns. They're all good, but I don't really like the flame stuff. Hasn't gotten to me. But the las gun's awfully cool, and so is the sniper rifle. So is the shotgun. I mean, there's a lot of cool weapons in this game, and the Marksman gets to take advantage of pretty much all of them. And when it comes to the rifles and pistols and everything else, so if you like ranged characters, this is going to be a lot of fun. It's a lot of positioning on the battlefield once you've weeded things out, but really you're going to be, at the beginning, probably focused in one area and taking off like anybody who's flanking, or edge cases, right? Or anybody who's like harrying your ranged characters from a distance. Take care of them, and then you can move around the battlefield and focus your fire on things that might be on the peripheral, while your fighters are up front, keeping everybody in one place with provoke and other attacks. So it's a lot of fun. I'll probably be playing a Marksman for my first playthrough. I haven't completely settled my mind yet as of this recording, but I'm like 90% sure that I'm doing Marksman because I've enjoyed it the most in my playthroughs through beta. So there you have it, everyone. That is a breakdown of the classes that you might want to play at launch of Rogue Trader, which is just around the corner. If you've been playing through the beta, it's been a lot of fun. Obviously, there are quirks to it being beta, but Owlcat makes great games. If you haven't played their Pathfinder titles, I would highly suggest you do so. you know, it's more fantasy, obviously. This is sci-fi, but I came into this not knowing anything about Warhammer 40k, and I've had a lot of fun over the past few months digging my teeth into Rogue Trader, and I can't wait for the launch version of this game. So if you like the guide, like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. We will be playing this throughout the entirety of December, along with Dune, Spice Wars, World of Warcraft, so hopefully you'll check out all the other things we do. Plus, we have movie reviews and gaming news and all that other stuff, so check it all out. Don't forget we're multi-streaming on Twitch as well as YouTube daily at 5:30 a.m. and 8 p.m. Central. We usually do an hour and a half, 2 hours in the morning, 2 to 3 hours at night, sometimes afternoon streams. So we'll see you in the next one. Until then, stay safe. Hopefully we'll see you in the next video. Until then, cheers, everybody.